Alright, I got a quick question about why doesn't it show the last leg of the guy when you lose Hangman? And I also myself wanted to change this, how your answer shows up at the bottom, instead of up here where it should be. We want to feel like it's revealing what was there all along, which means it should be in the place you've been looking all along. So how can we fix those two issues in a way that's organized? For example, this stuff, we could just copy paste it every time we want to end the game and have a big blob of lines doing that job, but it would be very messy because there are, unfortunately, 4 places where that would occur. We had originally 2 ways to win, or 2 ways to end. You could win or lose. And then we added another way to win early if you type the full thing and solve the puzzle. And then we've got the standard status that shows every turn. So I don't want to have those lines appearing 4 times. That would be like half of our main function. What we'd like to do is spin them off into a new function, which you can see I mentioned in a comment earlier. And we can call that whenever we need. Now the problem, of course, is that it needs so much. It's a very needy function. We would have to tell it category, lives, blanks, lives, used letters, and then every time we call it, we'd have to mention those things in the same order with everything exactly lined up. So let's do it, but that's not our final version. We're going to change something. This would be here, and it would also be here, and it would also be here, and it would also be here. And that would get us most of the way, but it misses a few things and it looks horrible. Okay, so I can tell that this is going to be Avatar, The Last Airbender. And it says you win, but it never shows the answer. Not here where it was, and not here where we'd like it to be. So we could change it to send the word to the function, and word would be used in that spot where it's going to display the whole thing. But this makes it even worse, because with this repetition here, 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 and here, at least it's the same. If it was different parameters every time, then there'd be no way you could ever keep track. And if I was looking at it, I would really be mad at myself for setting it up that way. So I don't want to do that. Instead, I'm going to just change it in a separate line so that at least when I see this, I'll know the intention. I'll know, oh, we're switching it over to the whole word, which means that would also need to be here. It would not need to be here because if you win this way, sort of the natural way, you've already gotten all the blanks out of there, and it looks the same as the word. However, it's still messy, like I said. I don't want to see all of these every time, and if I have to type it again, I'll probably make a mistake, put them in the wrong order, skip one, something. It also disrupts the flow of the program. If you just look visually, it used to be this nice column that would sort of wind left and right a little bit with the if statements. Now it's just all the way across the screen. So the way I'm going to solve that, and there are lots of ways with pros and cons, but the way I'm going to solve that is with something called a closure. I'm going to put this function inside of another function. I'm going to take this in the main and then fix the indenting. And now it floats in the same cytoplasm. It lives in the same environment as the main, which means it doesn't need these to be passed in. It can already share in them. It can say, hey, Mr. Main, can I borrow the category? Can I borrow the blanks? And the main says, yeah, as long as you don't change them. And we weren't changing them anyway, so that's great. I'm going to delete all this nonsense on all the times I called it so we can get back our nice visual where the program looks like a nice, mildly wiggly snake. It's not going way left to right, but it's just a thin column. It's like when you're reading a script. If you ever read a movie script, it's mostly in one column in the middle, and you've got some negative space around it, which really helps your eye. Okay, this is looking pretty good. I'm going to make these all caps because I want to put the important stuff in all caps. Like the new stuff that just appeared, I want that to stand out. Why am I not even typing the right word? Okay, now let's test it with a few scenarios. If I see that you win, you lose in different ways, I can tell that this is going to be one of our shows here. And it works. It shows the answer up here, which is what we wanted. It says you win in all caps, which will draw your eye. Secondarily, first you see up here, and then you see down here, and then you go, oh hey, there's a blinking cursor. I better check that input. So let's do one where we win, or where we lose. Let's do one where we lose. And it shows the full guy. It shows the answer up here as if it was revealed behind the panels on Wheel of Fortune. And it shows you lose in all caps because that's important. I love it. I don't love having to do the blanks equals word thing, but it does solve our problem, and it does avoid having to create new variables. Like we could have a Boolean that's like win, lose, game over, something like that, but then we'd have to check for it later and trace it all down the program. That would be equally annoying. Basically, we solved our problem with this concept called a closure. You got a function inside of another function, and it can treat these variables as shared, as if they were global, even though they're not. They wouldn't be leaking out outside the main. They're just inside this. I always think of it like a cell. If you've got the what's stuff inside of the cell, the mitochondria and the endoplasmic reticulum, all of these are floating in the same juice, and they have osmosis going back and forth across their boundaries. So they can use the same stuff. They won't change it. If the display status tried to change categories, we'd have a problem. But that's not the issue. We're just looking at it. So this is what I think is the best of a bad situation. We kind of got ourselves designed into a corner by having 3 ways to end the game. So I might like to change that later. But as it is, this works, and it doesn't repeat ourselves too much.